Hi, I'm Xetetic, and somehow I completed Chapter 3 of All Ardens. Here is my tale. First, the Turn 1 preparations. These are simple. 3 things are the most important here. That Finn has the Paragon Band that Sigurd's currently holding, that Arden has Ethlyn's Light Brand, and that Deidre gives up as much money as she can to Sigurd. I want Finn to have the Paragon Band because I want him to get to level 20 before this chapter ends and we don't see Finn again for a while. I want Arden to grab Ethlyn's Light Brand because she isn't going to need to defend herself anytime after she leaves the party at the end of this chapter, and we can put it to good use in the first generation for a couple more chapters. And I want Deidre to give money to Sigurd because she's not going to need any money where she's going. Getting people through the arena as much as possible is nice too, but at this point everyone just hits a wall somewhere in the middle of the arena when they start to face Doma, a dark mage who is somehow allowed to participate in the arena instead of being immediately executed for being a Loptrian cultist. So, we create a traffic jam outside the castle, Arden stands on top of the castle to assert his dominance, and Ira grabs a brave sword from Holland. She finally has a usable weapon, so she's a good unit now. Kind of. The beginning of this chapter is simple and silly. We have 2 enemy groups of Ardens to deal with, as well as cavalry off to the side. Accounting for every possible enemy that can hit us from every possible direction is a matter of trial and error. Ultimately, I settle on taking care of the Northern Arden Impersonator Club first, then the annoying Agustrian Cavalier is off to the left side, and finally the armor guy is way off to the other side rushing the castle. The groups of armor knights aren't a big deal, but the cavalry sure are annoying. I tried putting different combinations of units in different places, handling it like a tower defense game for a bit, so that our low HP Ardens don't get attacked by cavalry too much. But time after time after time, one of the Ardens does their last dance and grab shuffles from the mortal coil, never to be seen again, at least until I reload. I wish I could say I solved this problem quickly like a true Genealogy of the Holy War gamer, but I did not. It took an entire reset to repeat what I did from turn 1 in a slightly different way, just to put people in better positions to handle the cavalry, and ultimately it took nearly an hour to clear this first group of enemies. That doesn't even count the knights that try to pile into the castle, which Arden valiantly defends with his light brand, or the mages that only Sigurd can really handle because of his high resistance and his special ring. Just the first enemies that get in the way. But wait, there's more. The Medino Castle Guards. I cannot express how much I dislike these guys. You'd think Lewin's Armor Slayer would come in handy here, but no, not really. He's still weak, and the units that can one-round Armor Knights with the Armor Slayer are strong enough to do it without the Armor Slayer too. Ira's Brave Sword helps a lot more, as does Sigurd and Quan, because the real goal is become one-rounding enemies as often as possible. These enemies hit hard, and the mage that backs them up loves murdering low-resistance Ardens. I try again and again and again, using different moves each time until the Ardens successfully break through. Capturing Medino Castle is pretty easy at least. Sigurd easily kills Byleth's dad and sends the bolt sword to storage. That'll be going to someone else that doesn't have a weapon later. The pirate burning down one of the villages is also killed. That village provides a strength bonus, which is going to Finn. In a run like this, I don't want these rare stat boosts getting diluted by inheritance later, and Finn's the only character we have available that it's going to keep all of that strength until the endgame. None of the other villages can be saved, and even if they could, they don't give stat bonuses, so... Next, I make the mistake of seizing Medino Castle immediately, thinking I can just wing the next part of this chapter. Spoiler alert, I could not. A helpless Arden gets kidnapped while the other Ardens merely watch. After that, I try to prepare for Eldigan. The first thing I try is putting all of the Ardens in or around the nearby forest, using the return band to get Sigurd back home, and trying to pincer the cross knights on the road. That doesn't work. I keep trying similar strategies for some reason, and all that happens is someone's death. Usually Lachesis gets killed by cross knights because of course she does, but sometimes Eldigan just yeets someone into the sun with Mistletoe. I try a different approach and line up all the Ardens between the forest and the plateau that the home castle is on. Then I send Lachesis out. In case you don't know how Miracle works in Fire Emblem 4, it increases the user's avoid by 11 minus the unit's HP, then multiplied by 10 for 1 turn, and activates if the user's HP is less than or equal to 10. Lachesis has a Miracle Sword, which hopefully, unsurprisingly, grants her Miracle. She also has 37 HP and takes 9 damage from each of the Cross Knights. So, for each of the hits she takes, she goes down to 28 HP, then 19 HP, then 10 HP, and then 1 HP. This is where Miracle works best, granting 100 extra avoid, at least for the rest of that turn, which makes it impossible for the Cross Knights to kill Eldigan's #1 fan unless she's on a road tile. What this cunning plan fails to account for is talking to Eldigan afterward, because he loves to put a lot of distance between himself and Lachesis. And even if Lachesis could reach him, talking to him will only result in Lachesis being turned into a fine red paste by her brother's Cross Knights on the next enemy phase. So that's cool. Ultimately, I opt for starting over yet again and going for the extra cheesy option. I didn't want to do this, but Eldigan forced my hand. I used the power of Milla's Pulse to go back in time, before Sigurd sees Medino. and lined up my toughest Ardens up against the yellow armor knights that would become our enemies as soon as Medina was seized. And once I was ready, I had Sigurd seize. Selef's mom gets taken too, the retakening. That turns the yellow armor knights red and traps them in between us and the cross knights. Since Eldigan moves last, that allows us to take the cross knights up to 3 at a time. This is a long and boring process, so be glad that I'm summing this up because I actually had to do this myself. Eventually, the cross knights leave enough of an opening for Lachesis to cross, haha, enemy lines and talk to Eldigan. And nobody dies besides, well, everyone we killed. Great. That allows us to progress with a clear conscience. Of course, so many of our Ardens are so injured at this point that only a few of them can reliably deal with the Burger King and Sylvael's castle guards. Most of them have already started making their way back to the chapel between Augusti and Medino during the battle with the Cross Knights. There are also the Thracian Wyvern Riders and remaining Cross Knights to worry about, and frankly, those are a bit more concerning than this guy. After some horrific workplace accidents and subsequent reloads, the Ardens mostly break down the group of ground soldiers by the time the Wyverns arrive. Then we take down Papillon and his Wyvern buddies. I'm sure we'll never see that face ever again besides the time we've already seen it. And as the Arden conga line passes through the local megachurch, Trevance worms away from battle. Wait, I thought I deleted that line, goddamn. Sigurd and Chagall shoot and cast magic on each other for fun. I send Quan after the king, and after a little bit of luck with Pevise, a little bit of unluck with Pevise, a little bit of reloading, a little bit of random number rigging, and a little bit more reloading, Sigurd permanently banned Chagall from Twitter. Seizing Sylvael is easy. Just move Sigurd to the tile and press the button. Even a Fire Emblem bandit can do it. I approach the remainder of this chapter as I usually do. I set an Arden on the bridge and start to tank the pirates. In this case, the Arden in question is Finn because I want him to promote. What I fail to account for, however, is Bridget's movement range. She would normally have 6 movement and be able to outpace her pursuers for a while. However, she now has 5 movement, so the enemies surround her. They don't do a lot of damage per attack, but it adds up quickly, especially from the Myrmidons that double her. So she gets severely beaten up while the Ardens are unable to make it over to rescue her. Blocking the bridge simply isn't going to work. The pirates need to be murdered more quickly and efficiently. So what I do is reload and form a kill box on the south side of the bridge to pull the pirates in and have the Ardens beat them up. I find out that Dew and Ideen are married, not due to receiving a wedding invitation, because when am I ever invited to anything? God. I find out that Dew and Ideen are married due to seeing them get a combination bonus together. Of course, I take the leg ring with the one true Arden. However, not even all of this high-effort gameplay is truly enough. Bridget dies over and over again. There truly is nothing to this beyond repetition and luck. Moving Bridget in different ways until she's surrounded by the right combinations of units, ideally no Myrmidons, tends to help, but she still keeps dying. I reset a lot. I get closer and closer to rescuing her, but she always seems to die just before I get there to help with the enemies surrounding her. After a while, I resign myself to the fact that it's not possible to save Bridget and simply commit to doing my best, and allowing Bridget to die if that is the only way to progress. But a miracle happens. After 6 attempts at this, the Ardens close in just as Bridget drops to 1 HP, and I form a defensive line for Bridget to retreat behind. I saved Bridget's life. I hope she'll remember that forever. Essentially, that's the final challenge of the chapter, but there's a couple more things to note. First, I want Finn to get to level 20. I want to promote him to General. I've been giving him experience this entire chapter for this one final moment, where he crosses the level 20 finish line and heads back to the home castle to brag to any child who will listen that he is better than them. Claude and Tailtew have been holding some pirates back at the Tower of Bragi. Unfortunately, those pirates now need to be disposed of so that Dew can burglarize the tower, get spooked by a heckin' ghost, and find a windsword outside. Then Arden kills Duval, the boss of Orgehill Castle. And by then, Finn is home and promotes to Duke Knight? Uh-oh. I opened Nightmare.exe again and edited the official Super Nintendo cartridge to promote Finn into a general instead. Oopsie doopsie, mistake fixed. He sells the Paragon Band and buys a couple of basic weapons to take with him to Thracia 776. I don't want him to have anything too good though, because I want to keep some good weapons for the rest of the first generation. After 89 turns, Chapter 3 is finally over. I still don't know how the hell I'm going to do Chapter 4, but that is what I will cover in the theoretical next episode. Arden's level 20 now though, so that's cool. Until next time, and don't be surprised if that is quite a while, thank you for watching and have a good one.
Perfect. Bye.